In a previous video, we were showing how to create this custom Lightning component to display account metrics, which is awesome. And I mentioned that sometimes we can't use a graph to display some of this data. And I thought, well, sometimes we can, and that's a much easier way to do this. So sometimes we do need to make a custom component to display metrics, but what if we just wanted to use a graph? So we're going to create a new report today, and we are going to add that report onto our account page. So the first step would be to think through what we want to display, and this account has some activity, and what if we wanted to show the activity history over time to show to have some visibility how much we're interacting with a particular account. And what we'll do is we'll go into reports, and we can create a new report here. And let's just go to activities, and let's just say activities with accounts. And so on this report, we have a couple fields here, our account name and the subject of the task. Let's go to our fields. We can go here to the fields, or we can go here and add columns, either way. And so let's just add the date field from the activity. So you can see how in the activity information, the date, and this is the date that the activity happened. And maybe we want to make that field first so you can drag fields around in the report, which makes it very easy. And then we also want to group by the month. So we can group by this field, and we can further group by the calendar month. So all that's really fast, easy functionality. By default, when we create a new report, we show only my activities. A lot of times I want to show all the activities on the that other people would have created as well. And then also we can choose a date range, but for now, let's just choose all time. So we can go here to the date range and we can say all time. Sometimes we do want to show just the last year, and that's probably a good filter sometimes, but in this case, we're going to choose all time. And then we do want to show open and closed activities. I like to see that because if there's things that we've done, I want to see that. But also if there's open things that we have left to do for the future, I want to see that as well. And then here we just want to default to show both tasks and events. So when we do this now, we can save this, but we can also add a chart. Now you can't add a chart unless you do some sort of grouping on the data. So we do have a grouping here by date. So we can just jump in and add a chart. And by default, we get a bar chart. I think it's a little bit more helpful to see a line chart in this case, just to see the trend a bit easier. And then we can say account activities over time. Account activities over time. Activities over time, just like that. Account activities over time. Okay, so then let's just save this and run it. Let's call it account activities over time, and let's make it a public report for other people to view as well. We'll just put it right in the public reports there. That'll be great. So here is our new report. That took about, what, 3-5 minutes? Okay, so now we can see this is grouped by date, and this is across all of our accounts in the system. And here's what's so cool. So now let's go over to an account. So this is the account page. I just went to a specific account. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to this fancy gear icon, which is the setup, and I'm going to edit the page. When we edit the page, we have all these wonderful Lightning components, and you'll see here, this is some of the custom components that we've built. And we're going to, right now, just drag onto that page. We're going to drag on the report chart. You can't drag the actual report data. It's only the report charts that you can drag into an account. So there we go. We've got the, let's do this one, which is the one we just created, the account activities over time. And we can leave this blank, which will just keep the label. We can change it to a different label if we want. and it'll show that label there. But let's just keep the default label for now. The last step here is to make sure that we're filtering by the current account. It's a really critical step. If you don't do this, then our report chart will show all activities for all accounts. So this is actually a very important step. Filter by account ID, and then we only get the activities for the particular account that we're on. And so now we have account activities over time. We can see the activity. Wow, we had a big jump in November. Already, this is very useful information. So all I have to do now is just hit save. We go back and now look at that account record. We can see this really fancy chart. It's even got some animation growing on it. We can see the dates and we can see the activities over time to see if we have had a drop off in how much we're interacting with this account, if we're increasing or decreasing. It's just a really nice snapshot. I love metrics like this. So you can see where if we had a couple graphs and then some of these simple number metrics that we're showing for an account, this page gets very, very useful. Kind of a side note, but related, people do get confused on what are activities in Salesforce. And just to address that real quick here, the activities are any next steps or things that you're going to do in the future, as well as past activities. And what it is things that you're actively doing or have done. And so if you need to follow up with a task or you want to document a task that you already performed, you can set that. You can set a date in the past. Even if you're documenting something that you already did, you would just say status completed. You can also assign tasks to other people. And so if there is a task that you want to assign to someone else in your organization, then you can select their name here. Additionally, you can select a contact that you're working with within that organization. And of course, it defaults to the related to the current account that you're in. You can send an email right from here, so it shows the email and who you want to send to. It defaults to your email subject, and you can actually also insert some templates of data. We'll go over that in another lesson, how to create email templates. And then also events. So this would be maybe a visit. We would call a phone call an event. I know that seems a bit confusing, but it really is an event. It's a type of activity or something that we're doing. And so if we made a phone call to the client, or we went and had a meeting with them, or maybe we sent a quote, then we can document that event. And so that's what really builds our history here. And we do want to be actively tracking and contributing data to the account. Now, the great news is that all of this activity information is available in the mobile app, which we'll go over in another training as well. But that makes it very easy for us. Even if we're sitting in a meeting right there, we can say, just add the event right there in the app while we're sitting there. So there's no excuse for us or for our organization to not be adding this data to our accounts. Great, that's the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed seeing this really fancy, very easy to create graph on accounts.